Hey guys, hello and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your friend and your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. Now I've got to begin with a bit of a confession. Yesterday, I broke down some of the latest reveals from San Diego Comic-Con, and in that video, I was so excited about the Star Wars Detours update, and go check out my last one if you want to learn more about that I kind of glossed over one of the biggest announcements. Now in all fairness, in my defense, I still did talk about it, but I probably didn't give it its proper due, and so today, I'm gonna make up for that. So what are we talking about? It might not be as big as a movie or a show, but Lucasfilm Publishing unveiled, drumroll please, a novel based on Luke and Leia between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And this novel is set to answer a lot of our questions, notably expanding upon the training sequence from the flashback in the Rise of Skywalker. Just like in the expanded universe, after the events of Return of the Jedi, Luke is going to train his sister for a bit, and in canon we know she stops before the birth of Ben. But here's the thing, and I know this might be controversial and not the most popular thing to say, but I keep it real with you guys. When I first saw this announcement, I was like, okay, great, that's fine. Is this the big deal fans are making it out to be? Because everyone was so excited about it, and I felt really bad because I've been wanting more post-episode 6 Luke for a long time, but I guess I prefer it on screen. And before you say, I'm just not a reader, I'm a huge reader. Big fan of the expanded universe. Every month I try to get through at least one book, whether it's in physical form or an audiobook. But when it comes to legacy characters, whether it's in the comics or the newer novels, the way they're handled is a mixed bag. It's a flip of the coin. Sometimes you get gems and other times you get duds. Don't get me started on the Battle of Jakku comics. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to more Luke and more Leia, especially in the decades of the Mandoverse, I'm very much on board. I'm sure John and Dave have more plans for them, but when they announce books like this with huge canon implications, I do get very nervous, especially when it comes to characters I really care about, and especially when the expanded universe has done these same stories but better. But this is where there's a bit of a twist, because I've changed my opinion. After reading a new article about the book on StarWars.com, I'm far more optimistic, cautiously optimistic. For one thing, my friends, Beth Revis, the author of this book, has a proven track record. I'm a huge fan of Rebel Rising. And secondly, I read the full synopsis, and I can't believe the kinds of things they're doing with this book. It's extremely ambitious, but I'm here for it. After Return of the Jedi, Luke and Leia are going to try and learn more about their parents. And if you're like me, and you're a fan of Legends, certain stories like Tatooine Ghost should immediately spring to mind. Leia coming to terms with who her father was, and going through the emotional process of forgiveness. But let's take a look at the preview for this book. Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa train together in the ways of the Jedi. The siblings must confront the legacies of their birth parents and their own diverging futures in the Force. And in a way, this mirrors the Kylo Ren comics. The legacy of Vader was all about Kylo learning about his grandparents, the same couple who are the parents of Leia and Luke. And so StarWars.com goes on to say, the second Death Star is in ruins. As the burgeoning New Republic pursues Imperial forces, Luke and Leia train on the remote planet of Agen Kloss and walk the path of the Jedi side by side. Agen Kloss is again a planet from Episode 9. It's the planet from the aforementioned flashback, and it was also the location of the Resistance base. But returning to the preview, they say, the twins grow their connection to the Force and their own bond, as they shoulder the responsibility of carrying the Jedi Order's legacy. But each of them also carries a burden they're reluctant to share with the other. Luke loves to see his sister excel, but doubts his teaching abilities. Leia, meanwhile, is determined to master these skills, but she's burdened by the idea of a life commitment to the Force and the knowledge of being Darth Vader's daughter. And by the way, if you're curious, another central place canon has done this is in the novel Star Wars Bloodline, which takes place a few years after this book, but explains why Leia was shunned from the New Republic. Eventually, she splits off to create the Resistance. For some sections of the new government, the knowledge of who Leia's father was overwhelming. But then they say this, despite their doubts, Luke and Leia volunteer for an urgent covert New Republic mission to infiltrate the center of Imperial power, Coruscant. Their quest begins at the Imperial Palace. This was once the Jedi Temple, and this is where they're going to learn about the former Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic. Guys, all I'll say is this, get ready for some huge prequel Easter eggs. I don't mean to sound conspiratorial, but when I was reading this for the first time, my brain was like, why does this sound so familiar? And then I remembered, I think it was around 2019, 2020, there was a viral video where someone rewrote the sequel trilogy. The characters go to Coruscant and learn about the Jedi Order of old. There's also a similar kind of thing in Duel of the Fates, the original episode 9 by Colin Trevorrow. I'm blanking on the YouTuber who spoke about this. I think there was something like a hologram of Dooku. Well, it might not be exactly the same, but Lucasfilm is about to give us some pretty insane fan service. The preview finishes with this. The mission will be more transformative than either could imagine. They discover the legacy left behind by their birth parents on a planet where some are still willing to hope. And though certainty is scarce, Luke and Leia's faith in each other will help them seek out the path they must ultimately walk. So you know what? I rescind my original opinion. I'm actually super stoked about this. However, as with all things where it concerns Luke in canon, we know how his story ends. And by the way guys, this is going to sound really weird, and I could be wrong about this, but I have a very specific prediction. I don't usually do predictions for books, but because the preview and the interview with the author Beth Revis mentions hope so much, I wonder if Leia is going to say her iconic quote, the one that Holder recites in episode 8, "Hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night." I'm predicting that will come up. And another huge reveal for this book, my friends, is we're finally going to learn how Leia gets her kyber crystal for a lightsaber. And by the way, if you're noticing any patterns, this is the second Leia book we're getting. We have Star Wars Legacy this month, and then Twin Crossroads. Are they going to make it a trilogy? Beth Revis suggests there will be connections between the two books, as well as references to the Jakku comics. Not the biggest fan of her doing this. She says there are also connections to Andor. I'm very curious about this link, as well as ties to Battlefront 2, with the return of Luke's Star Compass. I haven't thought about this thing in years. It's the navigation device that helped Luke find Octo in the first place. And did you know, he stole it from one of Palpatine's secret chambers? And by the way, it also features in The Last Jedi. It's shown a couple of times in the background, but you can also see it on Ben Solo's bedside table in the flashbacks. And the release date is also pretty interesting, April 6th. The timing of the release of this book is also good in relation to the re-release of A New Hope. Fans are going to have these two on their minds, and it's good to see people genuinely excited about it. I'm very cautiously optimistic, but I will read it, and I'll share with you some of my thoughts. But what do you guys think? Are you going to be picking up Twin Crossroads? Those are just some of my early opinions, my early impressions. What are yours? And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you always.